Hey, I'm so glad you guys joined me today. I am here with Michael Rubino, and he is an expert in indoor air quality. And this is a topic we have exercised for many, many years. We've had lots of questions, we've had lots of conversations about this one on one, but we've never done a show like this today. So, Michael has written a book called The Mold Medic. And one of the interesting things about it, it's coming out, they're doing a revision of the book right now. It's going to be out in a couple of months. One of the most interesting things is many of us have indoor air quality that we are suffering from. It's causing health problems in our lives, and we don't necessarily know that it's caused from air. So we're going to unpack that today, and we're going to find out some of the things that we need to be aware of, because remember, when we are aware, we have choices, right? So if we can create a better lifestyle for ourselves by evaporating the badness in the air that we're breathing, and we can create cleaner air quality, we can live a cleaner, healthier life. So please help me welcome Michael Rubino. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, I'm so glad that you're willing to join us today, because from the other side of it, I've been on the house cleaning side of it. And as we've gone into many homes, some of the homes are sealed up so tight that air is not getting in or getting out. And then we have mold that's building up inside showers, or we have the pink slime that ends up around the rings of wherever the water drains out, whether it's a bathtub, it's a toilet, it's inside sinks. And so we have dealt with a lot of that because the air in the homes is sealed and there's not proper ventilation. So, if you will, tell us some of the risks that are inside people's homes. We'll just start with a broad scope and then we'll start narrowing it down. What are some of the things that people should be looking for as far as air quality in their homes? What are some of the triggers that come up?
Yeah, so I think the big things with air quality inside the home, mold and bacteria, those are probably, primary evil number one because water damage creates this ecosystem where mold and bacteria start to grow and thrive. And they are insidious, they could be hidden, and they duplicate quite rapidly. They also can get into the HVAC system over time and contaminate the HVAC system. And so, this is something that can spread pretty quick and affect the air quality pretty quick. We also have things like VOCs, formaldehyde, radon, lead, asbestos, other components inside the home, and especially talking about ventilation. Just the human body produces bacteria into the environment. We have chemicals that we use, especially, in cleaning. All of these things can accumulate in the environment. And if we don't have enough ventilation, as you just mentioned, unfortunately, these things accumulate and our body becomes kind of the air filter, if you will, for what's going on in the home. And so it ends up being a totality of what are we looking at in the environment and how do we make improvements to it. And that's kind of my role when I'm brought into a home.
Well, there are different kinds of homes that I've personally cleaned in. And there are homes that just have mold isolated to the showers and the tubs. And then there are homes where maybe clutter has gotten out of hand, so much to the point that we're tripping over our stuff to try to get to the appliances. And oftentimes there will be things that go awry. There's a leaky faucet, or there's a leaky washing machine, or a bathtub or something. And sometimes the water drips down behind the faucet itself, for example, or there's a leak in a pipe or something. And without getting that taken care of, it creates mold, and the mold starts to appear on the walls and the ceiling. And so sometimes I've gone into homes, and just walking into the home, you can smell a musty smell. Sometimes it's a musty basement where there is no ventilation down there. Can you talk to us for a second about ventilation and the power of ventilation and what we need to know to keep our homes safer? And then we'll talk about some of the cleanup possibilities.
Yeah, so there's a great saying in the scientific community, and it is the solution to pollution is dilution. And what they're saying is that when you start bringing in fresh air, you're diluting the amount of particles that are in the air that are then getting into the body. We have to remember that we take 20,000 breaths per day. That's a lot of air that we consume. It's actually enough air to fill up a normal size swimming pool every single day. And what's in that air is really, really important. And so, if we don't have enough ventilation and that stagnant air is just accumulating particles, you're going to be breathing in a higher concentration of particles than if you had more ventilation, right? So, that's why when you have odors and things, what do you typically do? You open up windows, right? What does that do? That brings in more fresh air and it dilutes the amount of particles entering the body. What's interesting about our olfactory senses, which is, when you're smelling, how you're actually smelling, they're detecting particles, and those particles then represent a specific smell that your brain recognizes. What's interesting about that is the less amount of particles that you are actually breathing in, the less you will actually smell. That's why opening these windows and diluting the amount of particles present is very helpful. However, if we have all of these things growing in our environment, we can't leave windows open 24/7, of course, right? We're going to have different climate changes. We're going to have raining outside and more humidity that we might not want to add into our environment. So we want to look at where are the sources and how do we properly remove them. And that's really a big part of the equation. So ventilation is definitely very, very important so that particles do not accumulate and enter our body in higher concentrations, especially in things like bathrooms where we need to get that moisture out of the way, in basements when we need to get that moisture that dries to the drier side, which is inside the basement, up and out of the house. So these are really important points.
Thank you, Michael, for your time today. Please tell our listeners where they can go to find you.
Thank you so much for having me here today. If you are looking to understand a little bit more about air quality and the different services and products to get you the best air quality you can get, please go to homecleanse.com. If you want more information about me or upcoming podcasts, books, etc., please go to themichaelrubino.com. And if you're inspired by anything I talked to you about today, I do have a 501c3 nonprofit called changetheairfoundation.org, which you can check out as well, about what we're trying to do to change the systemic issues in our society that allow us to get sick in our own homes.
And we will leave links to all of that in the notes below. Thank you so much today, Michael, for joining us. Thanks, everybody that tuned in today and for all of your questions. And we'll see you guys again, same time, same place next week. Take care.